One of our very important tasks during worship is to celebrate Holy Communion. And we have communion assistants who help by distributing the wine. And that is so important. It's wonderful to have the people involved in the celebration of the Lord's Supper, as well as our pastors. Our communion assistants are invited usually by Pastor Mark or Pastor Ryan after the Lord's Prayer to come up to the front, and they will walk up to the front and stand at the bottom of the steps. On Sunday morning at both the 9 and the 10:45 service, there are normally 3 stations for communion. If you are facing the congregation, the station to the far right is the station that is manned by the presiding minister, whether that's Pastor Mark or Pastor Ryan, and a communion assistant. The station in the middle, or the second station, is usually manned by the assisting minister at the 9 o'clock service and the bread server at the 10:45 service. The station to the left is considered station 3, and that is usually manned by the preaching pastor, whether it's Pastor Mark or Pastor Ryan, and a communion assistant. If you have any question about which station you are going to be serving from, or any other questions as to where to stand, just ask a pastor and they'll be happy to help you. The first thing that happens after you're up there facing the altar is the pastors or the assisting minister will serve you the bread, and then they will serve you the wine. If you're unable to hold 2 or 3 trays at one time, if that is uncomfortable for you, you're welcome to take the trays over, set them on the pillars to either side. There's one on the right and one on the left, and then just pick up one tray and come back to your spot. Then as that empties, if you need to go over and get the other one, you can go over to the pillar, take the other tray, set that one on the pillar, and bring it back. The one thing we don't want you to do is to set them on the steps. You can turn around and the pastors or the assisting minister will come down and take their place. You should move either to the left or the right about an arm's length from the person serving the bread. Now, if you are able to hold and take care of 2 or 3 trays at one time, as your top tray becomes empty, pause, take that tray off, move it to the bottom, and then you have a fresh tray on top. When the people come up to the front to take communion, after they take the bread, they will step to you, and you'll have the trays in front of you, and you will say, "Blood of Christ shed for you," or "Blood of Christ for you." Either is appropriate, whichever is most comfortable for you. Some people may look at you and say, which is the grape juice and which is the wine? The wine is the dark colored liquid around the perimeter of the tray. The grape juice is the clear liquid in the center of the tray. They will take their cup, step to the basket, drink their wine or grape juice, put the cup in the basket, and go on down to their seats. You'll continue to do this until the last person at your station has put their cup in the basket. At that point, you can turn around and face the altar again. The pastor or assisting minister will take their plate of bread back to the altar. They will come back and get your trays of communion wine and take them back up to the altar. The only exception to that is if you are on the station 1 with the presiding pastor. That presiding pastor is guided by the ushers to take communion to people that are sitting out in the congregation and unable to get up and walk to the front. You will follow them with the tray of communion wine, and they will serve the bread, and then you will serve the wine. And after all the people in the pews have been served communion, you will follow them back up to the altar and face the altar. After the pastor or assisting minister has taken the communion trays from you and returning them to the altar, you can turn around and go back to your seats.